Our story begins with Alice Red Ashley, a determined novice necromancer, casting a spell to summon a spirit from the realm of the dead. Suddenly, the young person nearby reacts with surprise and confusion as the flow of mana is abruptly cut off. The eerie graveyard setting adds to the tension of this unexpected interruption. The person with dark hair and red glowing eyes calmly completes the necromancy spell, raising the young person in the school uniform from the realm of the dead. The young person kneels, eyes wide with shock at their sudden return. Nearby, Alice Red Ashley kneels as well, her expression one of surprise as she witnesses the unexpected revival. The person with dark hair and red glowing eyes smiles confidently as he warns Alice Red Ashley not to cast spells on him. Alice Red Ashley looks up, surprised and excited to realize she has been resurrected as a whole human and can now communicate. Alice Red Ashley proudly introduces herself as a necromancer, her excitement clear under the night sky. The person with dark hair and red glowing eyes solemnly declares her to be his familiar, claiming himself as her master. The weight of their bond settles between them amidst the quiet trees. Alice Red Ashley confidently declares that she was the one who brought the person with dark hair and red glowing eyes back to life, presenting her proof. In response, he laughs mockingly and commands her to kneel before him, asserting his dominance. The tension between them fills the room as their power struggle unfolds. The person with dark hair and red glowing eyes kneels, examining the pendant that glows with the binding effect. Alice Red Ashley stands confidently nearby, asserting that this magic proves their master-servant relationship and warns him not to resist. The tension between them is clear as the necromancer demonstrates her control. The person with dark hair and red glowing eyes grips the chain tightly, his expression shifting from serious to a confident smirk. Alice Red Ashley looks on, surprised and slightly worried as he declares his intent to break the chains binding him. The tension rises as he challenges the control she holds over him. The person with dark hair and red glowing eyes confidently declares that the enslavement spell Alice Red Ashley cast has lost its power, refusing to submit to her, shocked but resigned. Alice Red Ashley kneels and raises her hands, obeying his command to sit and not stand. The power dynamic shifts as he asserts control over the situation. Alice Red Ashley admits her uncertainty about being able to control an undead, her expression tinged with sadness. The person with dark hair and red glowing eyes stands firm, explaining that the binding effect of the resurrection magic is powerful and unbreakable. Their serious exchange reveals the weight of the magic that binds them together. The person with dark hair and red glowing eyes smirks confidently as he tells Alice Red Ashley that he's not exactly normal. His calm assurance hints at a hidden strength beneath his unusual nature. Alice listens intently, her concern mingled with curiosity. Our story continues with a tense exchange outdoors on a stone pavement. Alice Red Ashley smiles curiously, questioning the situation with a hint of amusement, while the person with dark hair and red glowing eyes stands confidently, arms crossed and smirking, declaring that the bond between them is broken and their roles have reversed. Nearby, the young person in the school uniform sits on the ground, still surprised by the unfolding events. The person with dark hair and red glowing eyes stands confidently, hands on hips, realizing his magic has been cancelled and his mana drained. Meanwhile, Alice Red Ashley kneels on the ground, worried but determined, planning to stall for time. The tension between them escalates as the balance of power shifts. Alice Red Ashley boldly declares her readiness to serve despite feeling no pride in her role. The person with dark hair and red glowing eyes smirks confidently, clearly holding the upper hand in their tense exchange. The atmosphere crackles with determination and shifting power. The person with dark hair and red glowing eyes confidently declares he will be Alice Red Ashley's familiar and promises to take good care of her. Alice Red Ashley reacts with surprise and a wary glare, clearly suspicious of his sudden change in attitude. Then, with a teasing smile, he admits he was just joking and tells her not to make such a scary face. The person with dark hair and red glowing eyes confidently suggests to the young person in the school uniform that their noble background, combined with having a powerful familiar like himself, would be a valuable advantage. The young person listens intently, surprised and slightly tense, as the proposal sinks in. Glenn introduces himself with a confident smile, expressing his eagerness to work together. Alice Red Ashley, determined and slightly blushing, accepts the mutual benefits of their bond and acknowledges Glenn as her master. Their partnership is now sealed, setting the stage for what's to come. The person with dark hair and pendant assures Alice Red Ashley that she doesn't need to follow him to the academy, explaining that following her master is his role as her familiar. Alice, slightly embarrassed but smiling, agrees to follow his instructions and acknowledges him as her master. Their new bond solidifies outside the Grand Academy gates, setting the stage for what's to come. The person with dark hair and pendant stands casually, hands behind his head, whistling confidently. Meanwhile, the young person in the school uniform looks concerned, thinking about how following him might attract unwanted attention while gathering information. The scene takes place at the prestigious National Academy of Firma, where caution and strategy are key. The person with dark hair and pendant remarks on the intense death stare he's just received, while the young person in the school uniform smirks nervously and replies that such a reaction was to be expected. They share a brief, tense exchange in the stone hallway, highlighting the uneasy but familiar dynamic between them. The person with dark hair and pendant tries to get the young person's attention but stops mid-sentence. Meanwhile, Alice Red Ashley walks away confidently, telling him to just keep walking. The young person reflects quietly, realizing the hostility is directed at Alice Red Ashley, not the person with dark hair. The person with dark hair and pendant smirks confidently as he stands close behind the young person in the school uniform, teasingly urging, "Come on, master." The surprised young person turns slightly, questioning why he's been watched so intently the whole time. The playful tension between them lingers against the backdrop of the brick wall. The person with dark hair and pendant smirks confidently as he teases the young person in the school uniform about showing off a powerful familiar watching their back. The young person reacts with a surprised and embarrassed expression, caught off guard by the remark. They walk side by side down the stone corridor, continuing their conversation. The person with dark hair and pendant remarks to the young person in the school uniform that the misfit still hasn't shown her face at school. The young person reacts with a mix of embarrassment and annoyance, clearly frustrated by the comment. Our story continues as the person with light medium-length hair and a confident smirk mocks the young person in the school uniform for returning to school, calling them a failure. The setting is a school hallway with brick walls and an arched ceiling, emphasizing the tension between them. This moment highlights the ongoing power dynamic and teasing between the two. The person with dark hair and pendant taunts the young student for boldly returning to school and insults Arisakuin as a stain. Alice Red Ashley reacts with visible frustration, complaining about being addressed so casually and feeling nauseous from it. The tense atmosphere in the stone-walled hallway highlights their strained interactions. The confident smirk of the person with light medium-length hair stands out as he taunts the young person sitting on the ground in a school uniform, mocking them for being a dropout and urging them to do their best in remedial class. Nearby, a dark-haired figure with a pendant watches with arms crossed, while two other students smile amusedly. A shocked young woman in a cloak looks on nervously, adding to the tense atmosphere on the academy grounds. The person with dark hair and pendant confidently declares, "I'm Arisa-sama's familiar," catching the young person in the school uniform completely off guard. Alice Red Ashley reacts with shock, covering her face in disbelief at the bold claim. The tension rises as this revelation unsettles everyone present. As they walk down the arched hallway, Alice Red Ashley firmly tells the person with dark hair and pendant that it's none of their business. The young person with medium-length hair, wearing a school uniform, urges the dark-haired figure, calling them gran and signaling to move on. The atmosphere remains tense but purposeful. The person with dark hair and pendant mocks the young student for not understanding their own family or magic, questioning why they act so noble. The young person, surprised and defensive, responds with confusion and insists that Samir is a magic user. Tension rises as their conversation unfolds in the quiet hallway. Alice Red Ashley calmly explains to the young person that the right time to consider suitable professions will come in the second year of high school. Meanwhile, the young person reflects quietly on how much technology has advanced during the centuries they spent asleep. Alice Red Ashley calmly explains to the young student about the timing to consider suitable professions, including the option of becoming a necromancer. While the person with dark hair and pendant mocks the student as a desperate dropout, the young person listens with a surprised and confused expression, caught between the harsh teasing and the informative guidance. The school hallway's arched windows cast a quiet light over this tense exchange. The young person with medium-length hair voices their anxiety about being judged coldly and worries about their uncertain future and chosen profession, calm and thoughtful. The person with dark hair and pendant responds that such reasoning is surprisingly convenient and urges them not to give up. The tense atmosphere reflects the weight of their conversation within the formal school setting. Alice Red Ashley smiles confidently as she assures the young person that she will make the necromancer profession succeed, despite its reputation as a dropout path. The young person listens with a surprised and attentive expression, absorbing her determination. Alice Red Ashley confidently points ahead, explaining that the immediate goal as a necromancer is to gather excellent familiars. The young person listens attentively, acknowledging that maybe they are helping too and that their condition has fully recovered. Alice reassures them she provides everything needed, clothing, food, and shelter, while expecting their cooperation in return. As the morning light filters through the arched corridor, Alice Red Ashley warmly greets the young person in the school uniform, who looks on with a mix of curiosity and surprise. Nearby, two others. One with light medium-length hair and a confident smirk, the other cheerful and energetic. Join in the greeting, sparking a moment of friendly camaraderie. The young person quietly asks about their identities, seeking to understand the new faces around them. Our story continues as Gran, the hooded young person, introduces himself as the first familiar revived by the Necromancer. The person with dark hair and pendant teasingly calls Arisa-chan's familiars zombies, prompting a surprised and apologetic reaction from Alice Red Ashley. Meanwhile, the young person in the school uniform looks concerned and upset, even hugging Alice while asking Gran not to scare their friends. Mira Azure nervously introduces herself with a self-report, her hands clasped tightly as she faces the serious figure in the coat. The person with dark hair and pendant sternly tells the young person in the hooded jacket to leave immediately. Tension fills the air in the spacious, arched hallway as the command sinks in. Lily, wearing her hooded cloak, calmly introduces herself with a polite, "Nice to meet you." The young person in the school uniform whispers to the person with dark hair and pendant that Mira feels extremely uncomfortable around men. While Lily is the more normal one, the man with the pendant remains expressionless but slightly sweats, silently noting Lily's composed demeanor. The young person in the school uniform asks Lily if she lacks a family name and if she comes from commoner origins. The person with dark hair and a pendant confirms Lily's status and questions why it matters. Nearby, the young woman with long hair tied with a ribbon tells Arisa-chan that the lesson is starting and she should head there, prompting Arisa-chan to turn and reflect that status doesn't truly matter. Glenn stretches leisurely, assuring Alice that he'll use class time properly and asking her not to fall asleep. Peeking cautiously from behind a wall, Alice quietly promises she won't cause any trouble and understands his request. The quiet hallway sets a calm, anticipatory mood between them. Glenn sits calmly by the window, engrossed in a book with a relaxed posture. The quiet atmosphere highlights his focused and composed nature as he reads thoughtfully. The person with dark hair and pendant sits quietly by the window, gazing thoughtfully outside, surrounded by books and maps marked with heraldic crests. He reflects on the uneasy peace maintained between the great powers and the presence of commoners at the academy. The calm atmosphere belies the underlying tension in this political landscape. Glenn sits by the window, his expression tired as he warns against getting involved in trouble over a certain item. Nearby, Alice Red Ashley confidently declares her desire to gather excellent familiars, while the young person in the school uniform anxiously asks if some others are all right. Lily, with her hood up, and Mira Azure stand quietly, listening to the conversation unfold. Glenn smirks confidently as he shrugs off any involvement, muttering, "Well, it's none of my business." With a snap of his fingers, he signals the end of the morning classes and casually walks away from the window. Glenn angrily shouts at the group of surprised students, firmly declaring, "It's none of your business." His sharp words echo through the school hallway, emphasizing his desire to stay out of any trouble. The young person in the school uniform asks Glenn why there are no familiars around, addressing him as Master. Glenn looks concerned and silent, a sweat drop visible on his face. Meanwhile, the young woman with her hood up calls out to Gran, who stands quietly nearby. Glenn calmly asks if there's trouble again, prompting the confident young man with the pendant to advise, "Trash is trash, you should just get rid of it." Meanwhile, Alice Red Ashley, looking serious and slightly annoyed, insists she's not trying to pick a fight. The young woman in the hooded cloak watches the exchange with a serious expression. Our story continues with rising tension inside the room. Arisa-chan angrily shouts "trash" at someone, while Lily questions if trash simply needs to remember its place. Glenn watches the exchange with a confident smirk, remarking that Arisa-chan is surprisingly wise when she wants to be, despite previously being seen as just annoying. Glenn smirks confidently as he mocks the two nervous girls, sarcastically demanding why a creature lower than trash refuses to bow at his feet. The young people, visibly sweating and distressed, struggle to respond to his biting challenge in the grand, ornate hall. Samir proudly declares himself the eldest son of the Andrich noble family and a mage-class talent, demanding respect from the outcast students. The young person in the school uniform looks shocked by his arrogance. Meanwhile, Glenn calmly questions Samir's name, correcting its pronunciation. The person with light medium-length hair, wearing a double-breasted coat with a cape, boldly points forward and shouts a challenge to Glenn, demanding a duel. Glenn remains calm and smirks confidently, unfazed by the sudden confrontation. Nearby, Alice Red Ashley, Arisa-chan, and the young woman with her hood up watch the tense moment with surprised expressions. The young women watch anxiously as a crowd gathers at the training field, their expressions filled with worry. One of them comments on how the situation is escalating despite their warnings. The tension builds as the onlookers prepare for the confrontation ahead. The person with dark hair and pendant calmly tells Alice Red Ashley not to expect an apology, and to direct her frustration toward the one who challenged her to the duel. Alice, clearly upset, insists she is still the master and complains about being ignored. Nearby, the young woman with long hair tied with a ribbon offers a supportive comment that Glenn is trying to look out for Alice, while Arisa-chan and Gran express confusion and amusement over the unfolding tension. Glenn, clearly annoyed, tells the challenger to stop wasting time and get on with the duel. The confident young man with the cape smirks and holds up a coin, declaring that if Glenn apologizes, he might show mercy. But otherwise, the duel begins the moment the coin hits the ground. Tension rises as the challenge is about to officially start. Arisa-chan watches intently, realizing that Glenn must give his all from the start to overcome Samir. The confident challenger smirks as he tosses a coin into the air. Signaling the beginning of their duel, Glenn stands firm, arms crossed, prepared to face the challenge head-on. Samir confidently tosses a coin into the air. Setting the pace of the duel, Glenn watches calmly from a distance, ready to see how the challenge will unfold on the training field. The tension builds as the coin spins, signaling the start of their confrontation. Glenn stands motionless with his arms crossed, exuding calm resolve as the young onlookers watch intently. Meanwhile, Samir confidently conjures a blazing fireball in one hand, warning his opponent not to die for nothing. The tension rises as the duel is about to begin on the open training field. The person with light medium-length hair unleashes a fierce fire magic attack toward Glenn, who remains calm and unmoved, standing with his arms crossed as if unaffected by the assault. The tension of their duel escalates sharply on the training field. Samir unleashes a fierce fire magic attack, his expression focused and determined as flames surge forward. Glenn raises his hand firmly, blocking the blazing assault with a serious, defensive stance. The intense duel between the two continues to escalate on the training field. Our story continues as tension mounts on the training field. Glenn calmly absorbs the powerful fire magic attack hurled by Samir, leaving everyone. Alice Red Ashley, Arisa-chan, the young person with medium-length hair, surprised expression, wearing school uniform. Young person with medium-length hair, wearing school uniform, hooded jacket. Young person with medium-length hair, wearing school uniform, whispering, and the young woman with her hood up, in shocked and confused disbelief. Even the person with light medium-length hair in the double-breasted coat looks stunned by this unexpected turn. Glenn calmly asks Samir if they're going to place a bet on this duel. Samir, with fierce determination, responds that there will be no mercy this time. The tension between them rises as their challenge intensifies under the open sky. Samir unleashes a fierce fire magic attack, his expression sharp with focus. Glenn braces himself, standing firm as he blocks the blazing assault with determination. The clash of their powers ignites the tension between them in this heated duel. Alice Red Ashley cries out to Glenn with a look of deep concern, her voice cutting through the chaos of the battlefield. Her urgent shout reveals the rising tension as the fight intensifies around them. Alice Red Ashley looks deeply worried, reflecting on how she should have stopped them more firmly. Arisa-chan rushes toward her, calling out her name anxiously. Meanwhile, Samir smirks with anger, taunting that it's all Alice's fault for making him lose control. Arisa-chan collapses to her hands and knees, clearly in pain and struggling to stay upright. Alice Red Ashley looks on with shock and deep concern, her eyes fixed on Arisa-chan's distress. In the distance, a mysterious figure cloaked in swirling flames stands resolute, intensifying the tense atmosphere. Glenn smirks confidently, his red eyes glowing as he points forward. He acknowledges that the attack had decent power but asserts firmly that it won't work on him. The battle's intensity lingers in the swirling debris around him. The person with light medium-length hair is slammed forcefully to the ground, clearly weakened and in pain. Despite the fall, they defiantly question how a mere familiar could wield space magic, showing their disbelief and frustration. The intense confrontation continues to escalate in this open battleground. Glenn stands firmly, his red eyes glowing intensely as he commands, "Grovel!" With a serious expression, he asserts that only a handful of mages today can wield such magic. The air around him crackles with tension as he demonstrates his confidence and control. Glenn smirks confidently, asserting without hesitation that he is the strongest in the world. His red glowing eyes and steady gaze reflect his unwavering belief in his power. Alice Red Ashley fiercely casts a powerful spell, her determination clear as she confronts the threat. Glenn, with a confident smirk and glowing red eyes, taunts her, commenting on the predictable fear the monster she controls inspires. The tension escalates as both prepare for the next move in their fierce battle. Alice firmly commands Glenn to obey her as his master, insisting their duel is already decided. Glenn smirks and teasingly calls her a loud master, While Alice apologizes, admitting she is only a master in name, the tension between them mixes authority and playful banter. Glenn stands confidently with his arms crossed, facing a group of determined opponents surrounding him. The young woman with a ribbon kneels nearby, catching her breath or preparing for the next move. While others in various fighting stances ready themselves for battle, the tension rises as the fighters lock eyes, poised for what's to come. Alice Red Ashley firmly points her wand at Glenn, commanding him to stay where he is, asserting her control over him. Meanwhile, Arisa-chan, shocked and worried, calls out, "Sensei?" In disbelief, Glenn remains calm and indifferent, standing with his arms crossed as the tension rises.